This is my favorite part of the whole entire thing. We've got Sav McCaskill, Zoom, take one. We don't do any other multiple. We just do one take here with the twops.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite.
Welcome
to Washups, one pro. You're the pro. We've got Sav McCaskill, a Gamecock, a racing Louisville. What are y'all? Do you know? Oh, a racing Louisville?
Yeah, just racing Louisville. I don't think we have a mascot, actually.
Yeah, Joe. I just think it's like, well, they have the fleur-de-lis. The fleur-de-lis. Do you know what a fleur-de-lis is? It's that little
it's
design
the flower
they have.
It's a flower, but I'm gonna go with the Racing Louisville Stallions.
Okay.
Welcome to Two Washups, One Pro.
We'll let their PR team know you added them we'll let them know that you have added a mascot that literally does not exist to the team.
It could be the horse. It could be the horse with the beautiful purple lilac little saddle cover. Just tell me who I need to talk to, and I'll talk to him.
All right, I'll shoot you their email.
They're waiting on their bated breath, Joe, for you to email them with your marketing ideas.
Listen, Tina shuts down all my marketing ideas.
What did you just explain? Some stallion horse?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
No.
Also, before we begin, Sav, I'm very proud. I decided to go out on a limb, and I got multiple colored visors.
Oh, okay.
Coach Joe visors, and I can't just have one. So I went and I got a couple. I wanted to know what you thought. Do you like them?
Honestly, I like them. I can dig them.
You can dig them? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good to know. Check. So many things on my mind.
Yeah, Joe.
Visor color, perfect. It kind of makes you look tan.
Listen, I'm burnt.
Okay.
She's mowing the lawn every day. She sent me pics of her mowing the lawn.
Oh, Lord.
All right.
Color work. Get into
Joe, give us some background though. Let's give this girl her due here because she's got a lot.
She's got a lot.
Some background on some Sav here.
Sav McCaskill, let me just you played for good old CISA in South Carolina.
Yep.
You've been, battled multiple times, loved it. I think you may have come out on the lesser side, but hey, what are we going to do now? You're still playing. I'm not.
That is facts.
You were SEC Freshman of the Year. You went to South Carolina. You pretty much put that program on your back. Drafted number 2 by the Boston Breakers. You then have just been a trailblazer in the league. You have caps with the U.S. Women's National Team. I did some research on you. In 2017, you were nominated for U.S. Soccer's Young Female Athlete of the Year.
Wow, you really did a deep dive on that one.
No. Joe is Joe Facts. This is Joe's job.
Also,
she gets real nitty gritty.
If you want some serious detail on this, you debuted for the full team January 21st, 2018. Just so the people listening know.
I did do that.
You did do that. We'll get into that.
Okay.
How was my introduction? Good?
Great. Fantastic.
Okay. Fantastic. Go Cox, right?
Oh yeah. The real
USC.
Right?
The real USC.
It's the real USC, but not the real Carolina.
Okay.
Trademark that.
We can agree to disagree on that.
All right. We can agree on the real USC, right?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, then split ways.
Okay.
On the Carolina.
All right, let's get into it. So, grow up in South Carolina. You go to the real Carolina. Joe, sorry, we got too much Tar Heel bullshit on here. Let's just give Savannah her moment.
All right.
So I actually, fun fact, played at Vanderbilt for a year, and you guys were kind of, making your climb when I was there starting. You were a freshman as well. So kind of talk about for the SEC, I feel like legacy wise, just because of, Abby Wambach in Florida, that's kind of been the staple for so many years with Becky. At the helm, but I feel like your class coming into South Carolina had really started to put you guys on the map and create consistency. What was it like kind of being a South Carolina girl, going to USC, building a program really not that they weren't successful, but kind of making them into a powerhouse where now you guys are consistently competing for SEC championships. Talk about why you chose South Carolina and kind of that experience you had.
Yeah. So I actually had Shelly, the head coach of South Carolina, as a region team coach growing up. So I kind of knew, I knew her coaching style, knew the environment she was creating in South Carolina. And it was a really big family feel, everything that they did was kind of built around this like really inclusive culture, atmosphere. And that's something that I really liked going into college. Fun fact, it actually did come down to Florida or South Carolina.
Makes sense.
So I ended up going with South Carolina, but I really wanted to go into a program that was kind of on the rise, but at the same time, like I wanted to go in and kind of make a statement and try to help build something pretty kind of special and like kind of make a program. So I thought South Carolina would be my best chance to do that. Luckily, it turned out pretty well for me, but yeah. And then being able to be close to home, my parents got to come to all of my games, and I'm an only child as well, so they would have traveled anywhere to see the games, but it kind of worked out that they weren't doing a whole lot of travel to be able to watch me play, which was also nice.
How far is Columbia from where you're from?
So I live right outside of Columbia, so it's only 30 minutes.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Hometown kid.
It's like you, girl. That's like Joanna with UNC.
Joe is to North Carolina as Sav is to South Carolina.
Yes.
Hey, but there's something, no offense to you, Joe, because we cannot act as if though you went to a program that didn't have legacy.
Yes.
But I will say, there has to be something said about that. I don't know if you guys saw it last night, but Mississippi State, that was their first, the men's baseball team won the national title. That was their first national title ever, like in their school, in the whole school's history.
It's wild.
And I'm like, way to be, like, that's an amazing, like, to have your name on that, you know? I think that's so cool. There's something to be said about, like, kind of taking a chance on a program that doesn't have,
I 100% agree with that, because unfortunately Sav did knock us out in the Elite Eight. I think, did you score that game? I'm pretty sure you just scored and just took your team on to the College Cup. No, it was PKs. You guys went into. It was. I don't know. I tore my ACL then. I was a bit in a fog, to be honest with you.
I remember. I think we beat you my freshman year.
You did in the freaking on Fetcher,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, deflection.
And then you also beat us in we won in PKs.
Yeah, you guys won.
Yeah,
you ended up winning, I think, in the Elite Eight at South Carolina.
Yeah.
It was 2-1 or something. And you remember we had a PK in the second half?
Yes.
To tie it?
Yes.
And the girl missed it?
Yeah, I do recall
that. Still haunts me.
I know. You're
bless that girl. Hopefully she's not listening.
Hopefully she's not listening to the podcast.
Your Sweet 16 knockout got me too. So that one we both can.
Yeah, but then Florida State kicked our ass after that. So
I think everybody can just
I think we lost 5-0 to them in the Elite Eight. So
Jeez. That's really cool. I didn't realize you lived that close to South Carolina, but that's very cool. My head coach, Jay Intlick, I got to give him a shout out because he is a massive listener to the pod. But here at Columbus State, he goes, you got to tell Sav. He was like, listen, we thought we were going to win that spring game when we played you guys. And Sav, we're up 1-0. And Sav, she comes in and I go, well, here we go. I think you hit 2 or 3 in 8 minutes and won the game. And he was he told me to tell you thank you for that. So
tell him anytime, It was my pleasure.
I mean, he's listening now, so you can give him, can tell him. Yeah.
Anytime.
So let's move on, because I want to hear from your perspective on how all this went down, because I know my perspective. I want to hear your perspective. You have it's quite humorous now, but you have a stellar college career. You were drafted number 2 by the good old Boston Breakers.
Yes.
They then, I think it was within 4 to 5 weeks, they fold.
Mm-hmm.
Joke's on you.
Joke's on you, right?
Joke's on you.
Talk and just kind of discuss your process of having to mentally deal with what a roller coaster slash kind of shit show that was. I want to know your mental process. What did you think about? What were you doing? How'd you deal with it?
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's back up. So I was not even at the draft when the draft was going on, because I was in national team camp for the first time. We were in January camp. So I had been on the phone with my agent almost 24/7 leading up to the draft. So you're probably going to go to Boston. Andy's probably going to go 1. You're probably going to go number 2. You're probably going to end up at Boston, but Boston's folding.
Yeah.
So like I knew going into the draft that Boston had already folded. Like there was no ifs, ands, buts about it. They were folding, but the league then said that they're still going to draft people and then we'll just deal with it afterwards. So I was like, okay, great. So like all of the, promo things, it's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to be in Boston, like all this stuff. It's like all fake because I knew that they were folding. So that was just kind of wild in and of itself. I was like, how do you get drafted to a team that's folding? And then I don't really have a team. So it's just kind of like, and then I was also at national team camp. So I had all of that going on in my head. So it was just kind of a wild time. But then I think after national team camp, I got back and they were like, okay, so now we're going to have a dispersal draft.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yes. Like, all of the players that are on Boston are now going into another draft that the worst teams in the league from the last season got the best picks. So once again, it was like, okay, the bottom teams are going to get the best picks. And it was like the same thing. Like I knew Rose was going to go 1 to Spirit. And then my agent was like, yeah, Sky Blue is going to take you 2. And I was like, oh no, I've heard nightmare stories about Sky Blue. Like whatever, it's going to be okay. I'll make it work. So yeah, I mean, long story short, ended up at Sky Blue, and then
talk about a team that has made quite the transition.
Got very interesting.
We're on kind of
Gotham.
Gotham, but you were there kind of in that transition year, weren't you? Where it went from, was it on the uphill or was
no? We were still plummeting. We were strictly
they
going
were
off
like
the cliff.
You were like playing fume crash.
Yeah. Like the plane didn't have any engines left and it was just
spiraling
down out of control. Yeah. To go from a program at South Carolina that I'm like used to winning things to we won 1 game, I think, in 30-ish games. Yeah. It was wild.
God, that's steep.
Well, also think about like New Jersey as an example, like because I'm from New York.
Yeah,
it's just a really hard market to have a team without a lot of financial stability because it's so expensive to live there. The facilities, I mean, you guys like literally had nothing that was your own. I mean, like. Shout out to Racing Louisville, like literally all your stuff now, you're like, I'm rolling. It's like literally going from like poverty to like a billionaire in a minute. And that's just like, I just always remember with Sky Blue, there was just like nothing established. So it's kind of like, you kind of feel like you're in a rec team. You're like, show up to practice, here's some gear, train, and like, here's a field that we all meet up at on Sundays.
We were also doing our own laundry. There was parts of the season where we were bringing our own water to training. We were, finding out where we were training the day of training. It's like, it was wild. It was
you have the horror stories. You definitely have the horror stories.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, and everyone, this is the point. It's, I always laugh on the women's side of things. It's like, everyone's like, oh my God, you're a professional athlete. I'm like, no, I literally went from like Virginia or South Carolina or UNC where it's like, everything is top of the line. I can get anything treated, anything. I have all the like ice baths in the world and everything's like there, meals that, and like you go to the pro league, you're like, where's my trainer who like can give and treat me at any time and take my leg and do whatever. And they're like, oh, sorry. You're like, you got to wait a few hours or like, I don't know. They're not here yet or whatever. It's like, I mean, luckily it's changed, but I feel like even when we were starting out back in, the draft year was what,
2018?
18.
Yeah. So like, think about that. That's a minute ago. It's not even that far away. So we're climbing.
We're climbing.
Now you're on the better side of it, which is awesome.
She's a billionaire right now.
I know.
She's a billionaire
right now.
So speaking of Racing Louisville, you are somebody, let's just give Sav her credit. This girl's been on some journeys through the league.
Wait, hold up, Sav. I think you're the first person to be drafted.
Yeah, you have to have a record.
Of a dispersal draft and to be part of an expansion. Expansion.
Wild.
Like
it's gotta be, you've gotta be Joe Facts. Maybe you need to like get on Google. That's gotta be a record or something.
It's gotta deep dive into that and then we'll follow up.
Yeah. So You know what? I like reading it as Joe writes it. Let me set the scene for you, as Joe put in her notes. It's 2020. The league is expanding to 10 teams after having 9 for 2 years. So we have Racing Louisville, obviously. There's going to be an expansion draft, literally at the end of or in the midst of COVID, which is even crazier. So we're going to get all these players, put on a team. Just to give context for people listening and understand, expansion draft basically works where each of the 9 teams get to protect 11 players, and only 2 of them can be U.S. Women's National Team allocated players, and then basically Racing Louisville can start picking players based off who's been protected, whatnot. So good old Rory Dames pulls a Rory Dames move and decides to basically protect his entire team and then trade you and Yuki to Louisville. Interesting. Definitely news. And me and Joe had a lot of conversations about this. So one, talk about kind of your reaction to the trade. I'd be curious to know if that was something that you kind of pushed for, just knowing a new opportunity was available. So to that point, were you expecting it? And then kind of what is the mindset of now being okay, I just got to Chicago. I'm trying to establish myself in a new environment. And now not only am I going to a new environment, but I'm going to an environment that has basically not existed yet. We're literally a mosh pit of players coming together. How was that initial transition, knowing we're coming out of a COVID year. Now I have to meet all these new players and figure out how we're going to play together, and just talk about the expansion process.
Yeah. It was wild. So obviously when I first got to Chicago, I was kind of in a area of my career where I was either going to kind of, really improve and make it into a starting 11 at Chicago, or I was going to be a substitute and just kind of follow along with, just there for the ride basically. So I, made my way into the starting 11 at Chicago. I thought I had a really good year in 2020 at Challenge Cup. Was feeling good, kind of playing some of the best soccer I've ever played, blah, blah. So I was kind of feeling secure going into, off season of this past year. But then, as the league works, I got a call when I literally a week after I got home from Chicago for the off season, and Rory was like, yeah, we're trading you to Louisville. Basically, everyone's protected except for you and Yuki. They were they specifically came after you two, and they agreed to give us full roster protection if we gave you two up. So he was like, it was a business decision, blah, blah. That was kind of it.
Which, can kind of be.
Yeah.
You pat your ego a little, right? At least someone wants you, despite
right.
having to leave another player.
After you two specifically.
Yeah. So I knew it wasn't something that Rory was just yeah, take them, to get roster protection for both Yuki and I got the impression that they were trying to build a club around us, which the more that I talked to Christy, the president, the CEO, everyone that involved in the club, I just got really good vibes right away. Obviously, super sad to leave Chicago, one of my favorite cities ever. Some of my best friends are on that team, but I just continue to get this vibe that this club was really trying to do it the right way. And everything that they were doing, that they had already been doing on the men's side, that they were improving, was all modeled off of how the Premier League does it in England. So it's all, everything's housed in one facility. You go in, you have breakfast provided, you go in, locker rooms, treatment, training facility, gym, everything's right there. You walk out to the field for training. Literally, it's 20 yards outside of the building, train for however long, come back in, you get lunch, go about your, normal day, training, gym session, whatever. So everything's literally right there. And I don't think anywhere else in the country has that for women's soccer. I could be wrong, but
no, you're not wrong.
Yeah. To me, I just saw right away that they were doing things the right way, which was really from where I was at Sky Blue when I first started out to now being treated like an actual, what you would be considered a professional, is just incredible. The amount of, that's now the standard, and we're continuing to set the standard here. And I think that's something special to be a part of. From a playing standpoint, I was definitely a little nervous coming in, just because I was on a team in Chicago that had World Cup winners stacked from first player to someone that never gets minutes. Like just incredible talent, training.
Consistent roster too, like never changeover. Like so many players have been there for like 4+ years.
Right. So like I knew what I was going to get out of Chicago to like something that was a little bit more unpredictable. Wasn't sure, who we were going to pick up in the expansion draft. The players that we were going to be able to get out of college, but you're still thinking about players that are probably, have maybe 5 games max as a pro. So like that was definitely something coming in that I was like, all right, well, I'm now considered one of the veterans on the team. I'm going to have to kind of make that transition into being used to having someone like a Julie Ertz lead and have like that leading presence to then stepping into it and being more of a leader myself. Which I think was good for me and where I was at in my career. I think it helped me grow and helped me kind of realize that I have to set an example myself, but also be, able to communicate with the younger ones and help them along. So all of preseason, I think there was 3 of us that had more than 10 starts in the NWSL.
Jeez.
Yeah. So like, it was just
we get into that, but like it's okay.
So do you think that I was literally thinking about this when I was driving to get my USB cord back. Do you think that you going into South Carolina and having to build that program, not from scratch, but put it on the map, do you feel that prepared you to kind of lead this Racing Louisville team as a young player? Because like put in context, as a freshman, that's pretty young on a college team.
Mm-hmm.
You're a pretty young leader on this Racing Louisville team. Do you think that helped you in your new role now?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I've always kind of had very leadership tendencies. I've just had to learn how to use those and how to speak to people in the right way and to certain people and that kind of things. Because I am very hard on myself. I know how I would talk to myself, how I am very demanding of myself. So in South Carolina, I had to grow in that from my freshman year to my senior year, and it would get me in trouble at times. So I think, being able to be in that position at South Carolina and having to be cognizant of that, I think that helped me grow to be able to help, come into this organization and this club and continue to grow in that aspect, but know that I have the experience to be able to do that.
I wonder, just knowing your experience and being on multiple teams at this point, what is your take on it's interesting to me that there's not a consistent standard for just kind of general environment, what's provided for players per club. Do you feel like that's something that maybe needs to be pushed a little bit harder by the NWSL, just because obviously with new teams coming in, I'm seeing the standards being held, Angel City will probably have great facilities and things. And obviously, Louisville is doing great, but then it's I feel like there's some legacy teams that are lagging in a sense. And we're trying to get there, but I wonder if the lack of accountability in terms of the league being this is the absolute standard, it must happen, is something that needs to happen so that it's kind of a level playing field in that sense. If that makes sense in a way. I'm curious your thoughts, because you've literally seen it all. And I'm sure, to be fair, Gotham I know has improved. So I don't know if that situation's the same anymore, but I'd be curious what you think, just being in a lot of environments.
I definitely think that not so much from a league standpoint, but just because of clubs that are coming in and starting to do things that are more professional and providing more things for players, I think that's putting some of the lesser clubs, not lesser clubs, but some of the slower to move into that kind of space, those kind of clubs, I think it's just putting pressure on them so that they're feeling okay, well, we need to step our game up, or we're going to look like a summer league team, we need to continue to grow as the league itself is growing. So I don't think it's really, it would be great if the league could come out and say, this is X, Y, and Z, you have to do that, but I don't think until every club has the amount of funding that, say, a Portland has, an LAFC has, or Angel City FC has, all that kind of stuff. I don't think that they can specifically say okay, well, this is the standard. you must meet this, because I think a lot of clubs as of now would struggle financially to be able to meet that. But I think a lot of clubs are starting to have more and more owners. They're getting more people on board to help pay for things. And I think, the more support and the more money that we can get into our league, I think then you can start driving the standards of like, okay, well, you have the money now, so this has to be the standard. But
that's a good point, because you think about like, I mean, I won't lie, I love that like Louisville, like whoever's running social is like flexing all your new stuff. Because I'm kind of like, if I'm an owner of Washington or wherever, I'm like, oh shit, like they like look at that locker room, look at that meal, look at that whatever. I feel like there's actually a lot of power in that. So you bring up a really, really good point about just like putting the pressure on other like legacy franchises to like pick up their pace a bit in that area.
And you have players around the league as well that are like, well, why don't we have that? Why don't we have access to this? And so then they go back to their owners.
I think that's is the players on the team being like, this is not good enough. Like, look at freaking Angel City. Look at all these like clubs, and why don't we have that? And I think,
but to Sav's point, look at Utah. You don't want to like put funds out too quickly and then like completely demolish a franchise because you spent too much of your money too quickly. So to her point, it has to be held accountable, but you also have to have the funds to do so. And at the end of the day, we don't want to lose any teams. So if there has to be lesser environments, then. Because
while you were answering that question so intelligently, I looked, were you like a scholar All-American? I was trying to note take.
I have no idea.
That was like a very intelligent answer. And I was like, I need to go on my note-taking skills right now.
Is she smart? Is Savannah McCaskill smart? Question mark Google.
I don't think I was ever a scholar All-American. I don't know what you had to have as a GPA for that, but I don't think I got that.
Okay, well, you're smart. That was a very intelligent answer, and you're very concise, which I struggle on. So kudos to you. That I've hyped you up on the academic side. Let me hype you up on the soccer side.
Okay.
Just letting you know, you are my mom's favorite player. Like, my mother
Wendy does talk about you a lot.
My mom always texts me. She was like, I'm telling you right now. She was like, Savannah McCaskill, I've watched her play since she was at CISA. I've seen her at South Carolina. That kid has a fire in her belly, and she hypes you up. And I'm like, I know, Mom, you don't have to hype her up to me. I'm very well aware of how good Sav is and what a badass she is. So you don't have to hype me up. You can just hype her up to all your friends that do not watch the NWSL. So that's on amazing. That note, Wendy Boyles is Sav McCaskill's #1 fan. That's for darn sure.
Shout out Wendy, because we know she listens. She'll be so happy that you said that.
Yeah, she'll be so happy when she hears those. So talk about, I know you touched on it a little bit, but talk about creating that culture fairly darn quickly. You guys were a new team created very quickly, thrown into the fire with the Challenge Cup, and I think you just caught some unlucky breaks, to be honest with you. Like, you guys fought and battled, and now to be a expansion team, you guys are doing an incredible job. Talk about how you guys have created a culture, how you motivate each other. What is it like being on a new expansion team in general?
Yeah, I mean, so like, as I said, coming into preseason, I think, it was me, Michelle, Betos, and Yuki that I think.
God, I love Betos is my girl. We played together. They picked some good characters. Let's just say that. Yeah. She's the best.
Yeah. So like, I think us three were the only 3 players that had more than 10 starts. So like, that's in and of itself, like, there's a lot of players that can either come in and make a huge impact right away, or come in and be a part of a team that happens to a lot of rookies that is, just kind of there for the ride, go with the flow. We're not really here to make an impact because we don't really have to. And I think that happens a lot in the league because there's so many established clubs that already have their culture and how they do things that they're like, all right, rookies, like, coming along. Like, you might get a couple of games here and there, but, we don't really need you. So I think, between the older players on the team and all of the coaching staff made it very, very clear from day one that all of the younger players and not as experienced players in the league are going to be needed. Like, we need our entire roster for this season because we have to field 11 players and you can't play a 24-game season with only 11 players. So, we need our entire roster to be ready and be on the same page from the beginning in order for us to do remotely well this year. So I think, that was kind of set as a standard from day one, that it was expected for every single person to come in and battle, come in and do their absolute best every single day because, no one has guaranteed a position. There's not like a set starting 11 that have been proven for the last 10 years. It's going to be, people battling for positions, people battling to get minutes. And I think, from that, getting everyone bought in on that, I think everything else just kind of started falling into place. We, as a team, we just make it a standard that you're going to work for 90 minutes regardless of the score. We're going to press teams. We're going to defend. And I think that's something unique to this league is that a lot of clubs in this league are used to, okay, this is how we do things. We're not going to change it. We're not going to do anything crazy. So whenever they see a bunch of young players sprinting at them for 90 minutes, they're like, holy shit, we have not seen this in the league. We don't know what's going on. And then some teams are like, well, they can't possibly do this continuously game after game after game. And, we lost 5-0 to North Carolina. We lost 3-0 to Portland. But during those 90 minutes, like, no one actually gave up. Like, we were getting outplayed, yes, for sure. But I think one of the biggest things is, like, work ethic is something that we, like, aren't going to compromise on. The soccer piece is continuing to get better as the younger players and as we're just continue to get experience and as we as a whole are getting to be able to play more and more together. But I think the special thing is that the work ethic is there for every training session, every game. And that's something that I think is going to help us continue to get results. So, like, just being able to say that that's a standard from day one and have everyone buy into that. And if one person's not buying into it, then the rest of the group is getting on that person and has the voice and, like, feels like it's also their responsibility to, like, carry that and, like, show new players that that's our standard and all of that kind of stuff. I think that has helped the culture in general just be even better.
Yeah. I mean, that's gotta be, I feel like it's such a good point to make. Like, I've had every one of us bad losses in our career, but, like, to be on a team where everyone's fighting despite the outcome, I just feel like culturally that's always going to set you forward in terms of, like, other situations you're going to meet in the future. I gotta ask though, despite those 2 bad losses, I watched that Chicago game.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, Sav, I was a little amped. I was like, they're flexing a little bit out here. And I will say one thing I love about the league now that it's, like, kind of existed for a decent amount of time is, like, there is some of these storylines. Like, the journalist in me is like, ooh, like, okay, like, they traded them. Are they going to come and show up? Or like when Kaylia goes to Houston, I'm like, is she going to, like, turn out? Cause they, like, that's her old team, So there's, like, things like that happen. And I'm just curious, like, do you think, like, as an overall, I'm sure you guys had, I mean, you're a competitor, Sav. We know what you're like on the field. You had to have a little bit of a chip. I mean, any one of us would be like, okay.
I had a chip for you.
I had a chip, right? But I'm curious, like, as a team, because I feel like it's not said, but clearly coming as, like, a bunch of players into one environment, I'm sure there's teams that underestimate y'all's ability to kind of show out. Yeah. And clearly, I mean, I love Chicago, but they did. And so talk about, like, is that like you think that's like a general mentality about you guys as a group? Is like, you're like, okay, just think we're not going to show up. And then when we are running down your throat for 90 minutes, you're going to think different kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just wonder if that's a mentality.
Yeah. One of the things that Christy says all the time is that we're not going to be just another expansion team and use it as an excuse. They're like, oh, this is our first year in the league. It doesn't matter. We're just kind of here to exist. We'll get better for next year. It's like, he's like, absolutely not. Screw that. Like, we're here to win games. We're here to compete. No one likes to just be another team that's like, they're an expansion team. They'll get better down the road. It's like, who likes losing? No one likes losing. So, like, we're just going to go out and do whatever we can. And if it works, absolutely fantastic. If it doesn't work, then we continue to improve and keep competing. So I think it's kind of cool, honestly, is like, without having a ton of players that have been in the league before, all the young ones aren't really aware. I mean, they know like the rivalries and they've seen the league and they know North Carolina's the best and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's like they don't really know, like they haven't experienced it. So they're not like
blissfully unaware. Yeah. Just like, they're like, okay, yeah. I'm coming to play.
Yeah, like it's just kind of like this kind of nice little naivety about everyone that they're like, well, it's just another team, you know. They're great. We watched film, like, but we haven't experienced it yet. And so I think that's kind of cool. That, like, they're getting to experience it without having to be like, okay, we're playing North Carolina this weekend. They're very, very good. You know, they're going to run for 90 minutes. It's kind of, they're getting to experience it for the first time and kind of play without overthinking it, which I think is not a lot of us get to do anymore.
No, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
And look, I mean, you guys, like, even with a bad loss, you show up the next game. I mean, it's been a little up and down in the table, but it's like a lot of teams would just sit, right? Like, oh, we lost 5-0. Oh, we lost 3-0. It's like, you guys are like, all right, back to the drawing board next game. Like, we're going to try to win the next one. Train. Okay, Joe, we're not getting the Stallion in. All right. Well, we have one more that we want to get into. Speaking of mindset, so obviously you make your first cap in 2018, which I'm sure was a huge, like, lifelong dream for you. So congrats, because frankly, that's a huge accomplishment just being there. Massive. Yeah. So like, as a competitor and someone, as you said, that holds yourself to such a high standard, kind of getting that taste and knowing that you can perform at that level, like, which I say is like the hardest job to not only earn, but sustain in the world, in my opinion, is to be on the U.S. women's national team. Talk about like how that plays into your mindset in the league. Like, what is that always? And I know that that's still a goal of yours, and there's so much opportunity. You're so young, and like, we're going to go into a new cycle now. Talk about like how that sparks you, as like, especially being an attacking player and trying to perform and score goals. Like, how much does that kind of stick in your head and motivate you to continually improve and play at the highest level?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely my number one driving force. I mean, since I got a taste of that in 2018, I absolutely want to be able to get back there and stay there. Like, I want to spend longer than I spent 6 months, I think, with the national team when I was there. So like, I want to get back there. I want to be able to stay there. I want to go to World Cups. I want to go to Olympics. So that's 100% like why I play every single day for our league, is that I want to get back with the national team. So everything I do in training, in games, like, it's always just trying to help myself get better, so that if and when my name gets called again, like, I am ready for it. I don't waste it, because I think when I got called in 2018, I mean, I was fresh out of college. I was very naive about the whole thing, in the fact of thinking that, okay, I got called up, like, my job's done, you know, I'm here, my talent will continue to take over, continue to help me shine, keep getting me called in, kind of all that stuff. So, you know, obviously that's not enough. You learn that as you get older. It's definitely not enough. And so when I really got traded to Chicago, I was like, I kind of said this earlier, but I was kind of in a position in my career where I was either going to get myself fit and get myself into a starting lineup at Chicago that was probably, if not the best, one of the best starting 11s in the league. So I made the decision, really, you know, going into the offseason of that first year at Chicago, I was going to get myself fit. I was going to do the work. And it showed when I got back in 2020.
Girl, you look good in the Challenge Cup. We talked about you a lot. You looked good. Did.
So like that was kind of like my mindset change. Of I was tired of just kind of going along with the ride. You know, I'm a professional athlete, whatever. It was like, no, my goal is still to get back with the national team, stay there, play at the highest level for as long as possible. And so ever since then, that's been my mindset, is, you know, I do everything every single day, but with that end goal in mind. And I'm a very goal driven person. So that like helps me continue to grow, even like the bad days, you know, the hard losses, the days in training that it's like, okay, that absolutely sucked ass. But like, you know, getting through those days is like, I have a bigger picture in mind. So yeah.
Well, I definitely think like Christy Mewis is a great example. Early in her career, she kind of got called in immediately after BC, got called in, and then all of a sudden was not. And now, I mean, made the limited slim down roster for the Olympics. So, and she did that through club. And so I think that just shows it can be done while playing in the NWSL. And I think that's such an amazing outlook and such a mature outlook and such a mature and just a great mindset to have. And to hear you say that, I'm like very, very proud of you for kind of coming to that conclusion. I'm like, we're the same age, but I don't know why I'm telling you I'm proud of you, but I am. Tina tells me that I hype everybody up, but like I truly,
No, I mean,
it's a massive, like you dip your toes in the water and then like your feet are dry for a little bit. And, and so I think,
but it's consistent. It happens with so many players, some that have played in World Cups and are not getting caps now. And it's nice to see that you have a good mentality about it, because I think I keep telling people, not that I have any insight and I'm just, whatever. I think that there's going to be so much opportunity for players like you come post Olympics. I just think it's been delayed a year because of COVID. So I'm real hyped to see like girls kind of perform and make their mark.
Yeah, I like now want to racing Louisville Sav McCaskill jersey. I just want everybody's jersey now that I'm a wash up. Like I'm a coach, I play golf, and I want to wear my friend's jersey.
They got kind of dope jerseys too. Like,
I know.
You could be rocking a nice like little flutely, like purple,
I feel
like pretty.
That's what I'm saying. Like every time we do a podcast team, like I want to rep an NWSL jersey. I just came to that conclusion. Do you want to do that?
I told you, no, I actually think that like Louisville is an underestimated little town. Like I'm like, let's do a trip and watch a game.
Drink some bourbon.
Maybe have a little bourbon.
Yeah, go on the bourbon trail.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. Joe, okay, tell me.
Can we ride a horse while sipping bourbon?
That sounds like an absolute terrible idea.
Joe, that's about as bad as our idea of going whitewater rafting this weekend. But you know what? We're still going to do it. Hopefully this podcast exists next week. We will find out.
Going whitewater
rafting? Yes, stay tuned.
Rafting.
Sorry, I have to take before we do rapid fire, I need to just pause. Joe texts me and goes, we could this is our options this weekend. We can play golf. I'm like, God knows I can't play golf. And you'll yell at me because I'll be hitting all over the place. We can ride a horse. Go whitewater rafting. Then I go, okay, that sounds like the best option. She's like, okay, do you want to take a light stride, an intense stride, or like literally murder yourself kind of ride? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. She's like, let's do the middle option. And I'm sitting here like, I have never gotten in one of those things. And like, she's getting this information from like someone born and raised in Georgia who's probably like doing this weekend and week out.
She works.
Like,
shout out Parker Morgan. She works the whitewater rafting. She can get us a family and friends discount so we can do whatever we want. We can pick what we want. She said that she would do the middle option.
Report back on injuries.
I said, Tina, would you like to do the middle option? And I got no response. So we only have reservations at a dinner plan because I got nervous and I gave up.
I mean, Joe, it was literally like, she gave me like paragraphs. It was like light, it was like medium to intense waves, like may fall out of, boat, could have major injury. Like, I'm like, well, I don't know which one to pick. I'm like a wash up.
We're wash ups. We got to protect our body.
Joe can barely run. She wants me to like go down a hill on a boat that we both don't know how to. Anyway,
is there an instructor in the boat, or like
we're not going solo, Sav? We don't do that here in Columbus.
Oh, okay, you guys will be fine.
I know. That's what I tried to tell her.
Okay, Joe, I told you $49.99. I'm in, baby.
All right,
we're in. Let's do it. Okay, well, we'll report back, Sav. Anyway, get into these rapid fire.
All right, we'll get to these. We love to do rapid fire. It's like I think both of our favorite things.
All right.
What is your favorite coffee drink?
Cappuccino. With oat milk.
From where?
Well, right now, Quills. It's in Louisville.
Quills?
Okay, shout out.
Quills.
Quails, like the bird?
Quill. Apostrophe S. Quill, like a quill.
Like a quill. Like a Harry Potter quill. Gotcha. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Athletic. Funny.
Yeah.
Loyal.
Love that.
Oh, good one.
We haven't heard loyal, and I like that.
I know that's a good one.
Good one. Favorite team to play?
Chicago after this weekend.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
God, you gotta love it too when Yuki's your teammate. You're like, this is amazing.
On a slight, minute pause, can you give Yuki Nagasato the biggest hug for me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Your current favorite takeout?
This place called Chicken Me. It's a ramen place.
Oh,
Nice.
Love ramen.
Same. I got it the other night. Television show you've recently binged?
Yellowstone.
ooh, I gotta put that on my list.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Very good.
Your current favorite teammate, it doesn't have to be like whatever, but she could have bought you coffee. She could be your roommate. It could be Yuki.
Lauren Malay. She's my roommate on the road.
Nice. Love the roomie love.
That.
Yes.
Love the roomie love. Well, Sav McCaskill, Gamecock, Racing Louisville Stallion, we appreciate you for joining 2 Washups, 1 Pro. I think this is the most I've laughed on a pod, so I appreciate you. If I'm just laughing at myself, it is what it is. We'll send you pictures of rafting.
Why is it a stallion? Like, who is? Are you thinking of like Louisville horses? I don't understand. Like Kentucky Derby? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, the Kentucky Derby. They're known for horses.
Raced in the Derby?
They're known for horses, right?
Yeah, but
Do I just have a complete?
Are you now referencing these play? Okay, are you saying that these women are horses?
Fast and strong. I would want to be a horse.
yeah, I mean, not the worst thing.
You and you only. You'd want to be a horse? Hey,
Dude,
you look like a horse.
Horses are pretty.
I would love to win the Kentucky Derby. I would love to be fast.
Okay, well, you'd have to lose. If any of us wanted to win, we'd have to lose 100 pounds and flip. Literally, like I have to shrink like 7 inches and literally be 95 pounds. So
That's a
have you
jockey.
seen?
That's a jockey, not a horse.
Oh, you literally want to be the horse that
Yes.
wins. God bless editing, Joe, because this is all getting cut out.
Joe, can you just start running around on 4 legs, like on your hands?
We're gonna buy you. What's that stick? Like.
And that's a wrap with Savannah McCaskill, the great leader for Racing Louisville. We expect so many great things to come for her, not only in the league, but hopefully with the national team. And we thank her so much for her time. I am proud to announce the next week's guest is the legend himself, Anson Dorrance. Wow, what an amazing conversation. So much wisdom came out of it, and I think it will benefit so many of us in so many different ways. Thank you all for the support. We're excited to bring you new content, and check in next week. Peace out, twaps.